Now, this lady been ignoring me for years. And the video that I didn't want her to see or respond to, that's the video this bitch choose to respond to. So let me go ahead and finish my wild shot. Um, so I want to unpack everything that was said, and I guess since I got off work early, I can read. I can read a. I can read a little bit more from Hope's book tonight. Um, I still don't like talking about children. You know. But I think after seeing the video tonight, because I got a chance to watch it to the end, because I was trying to watch bits and pieces of it while I was at work, because you know, just like girls send you clips of everything that I've said about you, there are girls who are going to send me clips of everything that you say about me. So nothing is ever lost on me. When you was on your blog, when you was on your blog and you was talking to Flame Monroe about me, when the boy allegedly um when the boy so in front of the club that night, you know, the story that we talking about, I didn't really get a chance to unpack it earlier. But so me and my girlfriend was out at a club on Bourbon Street. So Bourbon Street is known for the girls picking pockets, you know, on Bourbon Street. So they treat the trans girls kind of rough on Bourbon Street, you know, if they get your tea. So me and my sister, we not really used to the teas, but you know that night we was given a little extra. I think if we would have been dressed a little bit more moderately, um, the clock wouldn't have happened. But we was feeling glamorous that night, and so you know we was giving too much to the doll, and because it was very dollish vibes, honey, they got them teas, honey. And so my sister, she was humiliated because you know she never gets that type of tease. And so when he got her tease, she threw a drink on him. And when she threw the drink on him, he was getting ready to retaliate and pop her. And before he could pop her, I grabbed him and popped him. But the other security guard grabbed me and threw me on the ground. And so the video shows me kicking and screaming on the ground because this man is holding me down on the ground. Did not beat my ass. Did not beat my ass, but he did, you know, pin me down on the ground. Now, I did pray for children to read you for coming for children. I prayed that prayer when I woke up today. I prayed it again today. Um, and it's not maliciousness. It's balance. You know, if we opening season on reading children, you know, I just want things to be a little bit more fair for the children involved. So, yes, I was wanting to manifest a champion. I wanted a child to rise up. I wanted her to read you. And um, I think it's the relentlessness of the reads. Like, I watched the whole video in the entirety today. And I live for the fact that you was washed face. And I live for the fact that you wore an afro. Very strategic, sis. I see you. Yeah, so um I received the prayer that you prayed for me, and I thank you that you acknowledge that me and you don't pray, we don't have the same type of relationship with our higher power. Um Yeah, I have a different relationship, and I think that things could have been easier for me if I would have stayed Christian. Because if I would have stayed Christian, I would have not, I would have been accepted as a preacher. I would have been able to, and I've always felt like that was my calling, to minister and to preach. And I think that if I would have just been a trans person preaching the gospel, and I would have went to school and got my seminary degree, then I could be well off. I could already have the things that I wanted. I could be around here writing plays that subjugate women, that further um, uplift the patriarch, because that's what I am. I'm a storyteller. I'm a writer, and my stories are not stories that we want to hear, because my stories celebrate femininity, it celebrates queerness, it celebrates those of us who ain't trying to run around with wigs and lace fronts and be lashed out and made up every day. My stories celebrate the ancestors who were erased out, who were snubbed out, who were erased. My art, how I often depict myself, with tribal paint on and feathers, and because I want to um acknowledge that. I want to celebrate that. I want that to be back in the forefront. And so yeah, I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people don't see it for me, because I am the culture bearer for that, for the shift to begin, for us to start moving back towards that way. And I think in a different world we have been sisters, Madison. I think that's why you trigger me so. I think in a different world we were very close. I believe in reincarnation, definitely. And for you to vex me, for you to I've never physically met you, but you get a lot of energy out of me. And so maybe in another life we were super close, and in this one, somebody told me this while I was in Africa with this guy. I was dating a guy, Siabunga, in Africa. And me and Siabunga used to get into arguments all the time. But we loved each other. We had sex 3 and 4 times a day. And I never had to have anal sex with him. And he was fucking this pussy 3 and 4 times a day. Oh my goodness, it was the most passionate sex. He didn't want his dick sucked. He just wanted to eat my pussy and fuck me. And I never really had a man who loved me, who did that for me like that, who made me feel like that. And so it was almost like I was under a spell. We were so connected. It was a deep soul tie. I knew him before, and it hurted me when I had to leave. And it was like he started doing things that made it easier for me to leave him, because as it was getting closer for time for me to leave, you know, um, he started doing all type of, just he was getting drunk and passing out in the streets. I mean, he was just doing so much, and I didn't feel safe. You know what I'm saying? There with him. And my mama, my biological mother, because I got trans mothers, community mothers. I have a lot of mothers. But my biological mother told me she's a Virgo too, just like he was. And that's the combination of my mother and father. So my mother and father is Virgo Gemini. And my sister and her husband is Virgo Gemini. So Virgo Gemini, it's something. When we get together, it's something. And so when me and him was together, I know he was one of my soulmates. I know me and him was meant to be together. But when we got ready to split apart, I had to literally take breaks from him. Like I had to go and get a room and I had to kind of like wean myself off of him in order for me to come back to the country. And somebody said that we made an agreement in our last life that we were going to be at odds with each other so that we would be able to split from each other. We made an agreement that we were going to do things to each other to upset each other, to piss each other off, to get on each other's nerves so that when it was time for us to separate, we would be able to separate. That's what a spiritual a person who's very spiritual in my life, they told me that me and him agreed upon this before we were incarnated. And, listening to what you said tonight when you said, I wish we could have been sisters, that's what that brought up for me because I do feel a strong resonation with you and I do feel a strong connection with you and I can't explain it. I don't know why because there's a lot of trans girls that get on my damn nerves. You ain't the only girl, you know what I'm saying, who got a coin and who got her shit together. It's a lot of girls out there trans girls, who got a coin and got their shit together. I mean, look at fucking Janet Mock. You know what I'm saying? Like Janet Mock got a pussy, and we both sex changes. So if I was gonna be, bitter of a girl and be at a girl, you would think it would be Janet Mock. But as I said before, I resonate more with the down home southernness of it all. The kitchen table talk of it all. I think your mouth is you can be real vile a lot, and I think that's where we kind of like branch off a little bit because I can eat that greasy pork chop. Oh yes, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend I can't eat a greasy pork chop. Some days that's all I want is a greasy pork chop. But you bask in the greasy pork chop um a lot more often than I do. And I think that's where we kind of like go in different directions. But I do feel like me and you maybe before we came here, we had a conversation and we was like, hey, I'm gonna be that girl that's gonna be calling you out now. Your star gonna pop before mine. They gonna see you. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be you're going to get to be who is that who baptized Jesus? You're gonna be John, and you're going to prepare the way for me. Let me stop. That was I was feeling myself just then. You better prepare the way for me. Let me stop. Anyway, but your light is gonna shine first. People are gonna know you because that's how it was in the Bible. Everybody knew John. They was coming to John to get baptized. They was coming to John. John was the one that they respected. And but when Jesus came, and everybody started following Jesus. You know, so but everybody was following John at first. John was the one. But then Jesus came. My. And some of us, we are the ones that will celebrate, but we are not the ones that will make the sacrifice. And I think that I've proven time and time again that I'm willing to make the sacrifice. She said that I get up and go to work every day, and I don't. I don't. I'm working now. But before this, I hadn't worked in months. The last time I worked a job was in December. And I started working about 5 days ago, and I'm going to be working temporarily because I have to make ends meet and I have to correct some things that I didn't, correct some things. You know what I'm saying? Um, I have integrity. When it's something that you gotta do, it's something that you gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm glad for the video that she made. I'm glad that um, she said everything that she said. I honestly don't feel like, I think that a lot of the women who say things about her are transphobic. I will hold space for that. I will acknowledge that a lot of them are transphobic. But Michelle ATLian, you're the only one that she calls a man. You're the only one that she calls he. She calls Amaya Scott she. She called what's her name? Miss Baby who played Candy on Pose. Girl, her name is on the tip of my tongue right now. Just watched the video with her in it today. Kim Pyre had brought her Angelica. She called Angelica she even gave Flame Monroe a she. She just don't like you. She don't like you. She don't like you. And I think she don't like you because you friends with Funky Dineva. And Funky Dineva hurt her. And she feels responsible for unleashing Funky Dineva because Funky Dineva, from what I understand, got the platform because she gave Funky Dineva the platform. And I think because you're aligned with Funky Dineva, she just don't like you. But I've heard her. You're the only one she calls he relentlessly. T.S. Timothy, T.S. Manhans, he, hell, he, hell. And this is what I want to say. Now, people love saying that you mind your business and we always get mad at the attacker. We always get mad at you and not the attacker. But Madison, like you said in the video, let's call a thing a thing. You are a black trans woman with wealth, with access, who is attractive, and you are not humble. You have a huge ego, you have a lot of pride, and you have a big mouth. They already can't take you. If you was a female, it would still be a problem. Because this is what females do amongst each other. They have a whole franchise that all of y'all love watching. I don't watch Housewives, but this is the cattiness of women. And so now you have extra things that they can read in this construct that you yourself help to exalt by calling on the Father. Now, you can't get mad when it backfires on you. You've always inserted yourselves in celebrity people business. You had a whole show, the Supreme Court, where y'all aired people out. Like, you called Wendy Williams Bartholomew, da da da. I mean, like, da 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 da. And if we just thinking about it, the power of words and speaking over people's lives and casting, you know what I'm saying? Who knows? Y'all could have played a part in the spell that broke Wendy. Y'all could have played a part in casting that spell that broke that woman. Because y'all put out a lot of negative energy into the universe around her. So, when people say T.S. Madison was minding her business. You can't put them in the same sentence. Ma'am, you ain't never minding your business. And this is not shade. This is the reality. And this is the thing that bothers me about you. Like, this is the thing that challenges me the most about you, is that you can insert yourself into everybody's business, but the moment someone speaks on you, they're wrong. And you ready to pull up, and you don't talk about me like that. And thank you, sister, for not talking about me like that. But you talk about a lot of other people like that. I'm not going to just say women, because you threatened to beat up Tasha K husband too. So I'm not going to say you got more heart than a lot of these men. Because these men don't call out each other like you do. So I'm not finna say that you bully black women. I don't get that from you. But you can't insert yourself into people's business and attach yourself to people's business and then get mad when someone wants to make you their business. Hey, Tina. Don't get mad when somebody make you their business. You should never be mad at somebody talking about you, at someone speaking on you, because at the very least it's karma. The bullet doesn't always come from the person that you shot at. Sometimes you'll be in the club swinging and you will hit this bitch and another bitch will hit you. Bitch, you didn't even hit. But we can't say that you was minding your business. Because you was in the mix. Maybe you wasn't swinging on the hoe who hit you. But you was still swinging. So, sister, if we gonna call a thing, if we gonna play the whole tape, let's play the whole tape. But I am very thankful for what you said tonight. You were very gracious. You gave the energy that I wanted to see. And now I can watch Hush and not feel guilty. Now I can continue to support. I don't know if I'm gonna watch a platform. I don't think I'm gonna be able to watch a platform because the Maddie Mob supports you in talking about children. Hopefully they don't write no lines in Hush where you, bitch, I pull up on your children, bitch. Bitch, I kill, bitch, I fight children. I hope don't write that into the character on Hush because I really want to watch the next season. I've been waiting for it. Like, please don't add that to the character. Please. Shit. Fuck. Don't add that to the character, baby. We don't want that, honey. But honey, did you hear her when she spoke wealth over me? Girl, that had touched me, girl. When she called me a tranny, I felt the way because I've never been called a tranny. You know, the boys don't call me tranny. Now, back in the day, like in 2010, they used to say transy, you know, and that was a respectful term in New Orleans. It was better than being called a punk and a fag and a sissy. So they used to say transy. Oh, that's a transy. You know, trying to say transy. Transy, like with the S, but they'll say transy. So the boys used to say transy, but I've never been called a tranny. You know, they don't call me tranny. And I don't like that term. I don't like being called tranny. You know, no, I'm not a tranny, sister. I'm a whole one. I am lay lim lay lur. I am let him let her. Not even on my worst day am I a tranny. Not even on my worst day. Not even on my lowest day. Bitch, I've never been, and this is no shade. I've never been TS anything. I've never put that in. That has never been a moniker. And somebody who I love, TS Baby Mama, she wears that as her moniker. But I never was even a TS. I have another close sister who was called TS so and so. I remember when the girls used to put that in front of their name, like, like it was the Mister or the Miss or it was the first part of their name, like doctor, like it was TS so and so, TS so and so. I never TS'd myself. It was TS never. That's what the fuck it was. It was TS never. Bitch, I never TS'd myself. Mm-mm. And I'm not transgender unless I'm up on the plantation trying to get me a check. But other than that, I'm whole. I'm whole. I'm my mother and my father. So basically, every choice that I've ever made in my life, I knew it was going to be hard for me. I knew when I got my sex change, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to use the men for their coins because the men wanted somebody that was going to put some dick on them. And honey, I chose me, bitch. I'm tired, bitch. I had tricks was waking me up in the middle of the night, sucking on my dick. I was eating food, sitting at the table, nigga under the table, sucking my dick while I'm eating after he done fixed my plate. Bitch, I got tired of jumping up and down in them niggas shitty asses. Bitch, I was tired, bitch, of pulling out my dick and having shit on my dick, bitch, because them niggas don't know how to clean their ass, bitch. I got tired of shitty booty ass niggas, bitch, I was good, bitch. Bitch, I didn't want to see no more shit on my dick, bitch. Bitch, I didn't want to see another turd, bitch, on my penis, bitch. Bitch, that's why I got a pussy, bitch. Cause I don't want to shit on no more dicks, bitch. Bitch, I don't want to shit on her. I don't want shit on me. And I don't want shit on me. And I don't want to put shit on you, bitch. No. I had to choose me. I had to choose me. I was tired of shitty dick action. You know what I'm saying? So keeping my penis, it wasn't an option. It wasn't. I know. I couldn't go on like that. And when I chose to have my sex change, I knew things were going to be harder for me. I knew it. But I'm like Tina Turner. Tina said, we never ever do anything nice and easy. We always do it hard and rough. That's me, bitch. I'm Tina. No, I don't do it nice and easy. I do it hard and rough. Ma'am, I stepped away from the Christian religion. I stepped away from the Christian religion. And they were dirty. That's why you got the shitty deals. Child, these men had money. We was at nice hotels. I worked at a strip club on Bourbon Street. And they were white men with coins and shitty asses. These were not the $20 men. The $20 men were fucking me in my eyes. Them was niggas. The niggas was the ones. that was fucking me in my ass. And I was letting niggas fuck me for $20. Never let no white man fuck me for $20. Maybe a Mexican. Was something with some melanin though. But I ain't never let no white man fuck for $20. No shade. It's just not my narrative. But I have let niggas fuck for $20. I have let some Mexicans fuck for $20. But you better believe every nigga that I let fuck me for $20. Low key, I would have let him fuck me for free. Bitch, I was just trying to get something out that nigga, bitch. We gonna keep it all the way real, bitch. I ain't fucked no nigga I wouldn't have fucked for free for $20, bitch. Yeah, they was dirty. All of them. All of them. All of them. They was dirty. This was 20 years ago. Whoever this is, Live Free 88, this was 20 years ago. Most of them were dirty. With money. You say that like it's a reality. It was 20 years ago though. I'm 46 years old. Yeah. I've been in jail when the boys was mad at my sister because my sister wouldn't suck their dick. And the boys saved up their shit in their cell. They saved up their shit for weeks and decided that they were going to walk past our cell and throw all of the shit into the cell. And so we had to hide under mattresses to keep from getting hit with shit that they had been saving for weeks. We had to hide under our mattresses because these niggas in jail was mad because she had some big old pretty lips. She sucked one of them niggas' dicks and all of them wanted their dick sucked. Because she didn't feel like sucking their dick, they saved up their shit and piss. And I ain't have nothing to do with it. I was just collateral damage. You a punk too. You a faggot too. Bitch, you could get it too. Bitch, you ain't gonna pay her debt. Bitch, you ain't volunteering to suck no dick. So we had to hide under our mattresses. And when we came off from under our mattresses, from dodging the shit, it was shit everywhere, all over the walls. It was shit everywhere. Everywhere. And we had to pretend to be suicidal because the deputies was going to make us clean up the shit. That's how the deputies felt about us. So needless to say, men in general, a lot of them were just nasty. Nasty in here, nasty in here, nasty down here, and nasty back here. That's why when a bitch started trying to say something about me having HIV, when a bitch try to call me dirty, bitch, at least I know what I'm struggling with. Bitch, a lot of you hoes got sickness we can't see. A lot of you bitches dirty in your mind. You dirty in your heart. You're dirty in your soul. And it ain't the good dirt where shit grow from. It's all kinds of filth. See, this something else, and this ain't got nothing to do with this. But black folk, let me tell you how we condone slavery. When we see a motherfucker struggling, when we see somebody going through something, we'll be the first ones to say, well, you look like an able-bodied person. Why you ain't got no job? Why you can't get out and work? And you never know. This bitch being homeless on the streets, not bothering nobody. The same nigga y'all saying need to get a job, need to work. Ain't nothing wrong with you. That same nigga go to work and kill everybody in that bitch. and and throw a Molotov cocktail in and blow up the whole fucking building. But if you'd have just left them on the street, minding their business, maybe a whole building wouldn't have had to get blowed up. Maybe all of them people in that building wouldn't have had to die. But you bitches and niggas was sitting up talking about they need to get a job. They need to work. Ain't nothing wrong with them. You don't know, bitch, just because you able-bodied don't mean you able in your fucking mind. Bitch, people need a break. We not motherfucking robots, and slavery is supposed to be done ended. Black people always trying to, I got this and you ain't got that, and I got this and you ain't got that, and I got this, and look at what I got. I was looking at a story today about this slave, Peko Seca, Pabo Seca, or something like that. I can't think of his name, but his job was to be a breeder. His job was to breed, and he bred I think he bred over 200 children, and they're saying in some island, I have to pull this video up. They said in some island 30% of the population can be traced back to this man's DNA, because this how many he was well kept. His master treated him good and kept him well fed and well kept and everything, and what he had to do was breed, and his children had a horrible quality of life. His children had to work harder. His children had to toil harder. His children did not have the liberties that he had, but he lived good. He just had to run a few errands and fuck a whole lot of women. That was his job, to deliver mail for his master and fuck a whole lot of women. And he ate good. He was always checked for STDs. He lived in good, comfortable conditions. And his job was to fuck, make babies. He was 7 foot tall with skinny legs. And they believed during that time that a man with skinny legs could produce male sons. So they wanted the male sons because the male sons was going to get on the plantation and works like pack mules to build up the plantation for Madison. But a lot of y'all have the audacity to talk down on trans people. Now, I can't say all of us is different from the cis people. But one of the things that how my transness set up, if I couldn't carry the baby, I didn't want to bring one here. If I wasn't going to be the first teacher, if I wasn't going to get to bond with it while it was in my belly, if I wasn't going to get to breastfeed it when it got here, I'm not bringing it here, because I don't know if it's going to be strong enough to survive. No shade. I needed to suckle it on my titty. I needed to carry it in my stomach for me to know that when I close my eyes, you got this. And so because I wasn't born with the capacity to do that, I didn't bring nothing here. Now, I got children here. I'm going to never deny I got children. I do. I got children I love with my whole heart. I got children that I birthed in other lives. But I didn't bring none here this time. And it was because I was born male. If I had been born with a vagina, honey, I would have made me some children. Probably would have been like Lauryn Hill. Him a man, him king, him everything. I'd probably been like old India.Arie. Cause he is the truth, say he is so real. And I love the way that he makes me feel. And if I am a reflection of him, then I must be fly because his light it shines so bright. I probably would have been that type of fish. I'd have been just worshiping him, baby. Worship him. Worship him. Worship him. Oh yes, ma'am, honey. I would have been carrying his baby, pushed out his child, pushed out our genetics combined. Baby, our genetics combined. Hold on one second. Cause I see somebody ignorant on here. I'm about to remove you. Cause yeah, this some troll, this a robot. This is literally a robot in the comment section. We got bots in the comment section. I see a bot. Is there a bot in the house tonight? Stand up. Stand up. Let me know. Let me know you understand. Is there a bot? Is there a bot in the house tonight? Stand up. Let me know. Let me know that you understand. Is there a bot? Is there a bot in the house tonight? Stand up. Stand up. Let me know. Let me know you are a clone. You coming out here with these old ass, like, nigga, like, this is why COVID happened and all of these HIV happened. This is why all of these things come. Because we allow ourselves to get to this place of idiocy. Like, why would you come on alive once you see that this is not something that's feeding you, that's nourishing you? Why would you stay? Move around. If it's not a conversation for you, move around, because all you do is tell on yourself. If you are human. Because I still don't know if it was a bot or not. I still don't know. I still don't know. We still don't know if it was a bot or not. This nigga talking about I piss standing up. Like, bruh. Have you watched any other video besides this one? Really, bruh? Really? That's some. And this is why I get upset when people say that's a man. Because there are some beautiful men, beautiful. There are some beautiful beings who identify as men. There are some gorgeous beings that identify as men. But what my brand of being is, what my existence is, it is not like, no. Like, I will never deny that my father lived in me, my grandfather lived in me, my great grandfather, my great great grandfather. But in the same token, my mother lives in me, my grandmother, my great great grandmother, and so on and so forth. And so I just feel like we've given too much credit to men. I feel like men got too much credit, and I feel like putting man on a pedestal like that has created a lot of the bullshit that we see today. And I'm not trying to assist in that. So my brand of existence is not manhood. It's not womanhood either. Although I think I come closer to that than manhood. I'll never, but I don't, I'm not going to, I do claim womanhood, but I am not upset when other people don't see it for me. Because I don't need you to see it for me. Because there's a lot of beings who was born with vaginas who do see it for me. There's a lot of beings who celebrate me who was born with vaginas. So I don't need every woman with a vagina to see it for me. Every black woman don't see it for every black woman. That's why we have colorism. Some light skinned women think they better than dark skinned women. Some races think that they better than other races. Like, of course it's gonna like that's like when we think about the Jim Crow letter, all you gotta do is just add trans to it. So pecking order, pit them against each other, so you can have them wanting to have a hierarchy. And when you create that need for a hierarchy, you'll naturally pit them against each other. And the reason why there's a lot of clashing going on is because a lot of trans women are, presenting female, but still showing up as a man. Like presenting, it's packaged as a female, but in the inside, it's all man. It's like some Prince type shit. It's like some Michael Jackson type shit. Like I'm putting on this look, but really, honestly, and truly, I'm still maneuvering in the same way. And this the gag. A lot of females the same way. A lot of females perform femininity. She have on a pair of female. She have on a pair of high heel shoes, a whole dress, some bundles in her hair, and still more gangster than this nigga. In New Orleans, everybody call each other man. Females, yeah man, yeah man, yeah bro, yeah son, yeah man, yeah bro, yeah son. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. Yeah, son. Yeah, that homie. Yeah, bro. Yeah, son. Yeah, because, I thank Father God for what he did for me, man. These females talking to each other. These are women. These are ladies talking to each other like, yeah, man. Yeah, bro. Yeah, son. Yeah, son. For real, son. Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. Because, Father God, he looked out for me. Yeah, man. But wait a minute. The trans people erased you? Wait, the trans people, we are erasing y'all. We trying to erase y'all. Patriarchy not doing it. It's the trans girls. Okay. It's a whole culture where females who done pushed out 4 and 5 babies. Oh yeah, oh shum, yeah my yeah. Divine, feminine body. All that. Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, son. Cause Father God, not lesbians, not studs, not dykes, females, women, girls who love dick. Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah, son. Cause yeah, son. On God. Cause Father God, King Jesus, he had looked out for me. Yeah, man, I was stripping, son. Bruh. But the trans community, those black trans women, they're erasing you. They're erasing you. Gotta blame it on something, Hunko. You sitting up in the church every Sunday praying to a man, waiting on him to come take the wheel, waiting on him to come fix it, waiting on a man to come fix it, waiting on Jesus to take the wheel, waiting on this man to come do this. But it's the trans community. It's the black trans women. that are trying to erase you. You are invested in a book that does not even acknowledge you in the lineage of the Savior. It says, a man begot another man, who 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 begot another man. Mary is not mentioned in none of the begots. But wait, it's black trans women who are trying to erase you, who are trying to replace you. No, boo. Patriarchy been did that. They made you the helpmate, the rib, the sidekick. And so you tried to sidekick us. Because that's what patriarchy's done to you. And because some of us bucking it, because a lot of us sit in our sit in our masculinity. A lot of us, we see when someone says you sit in your femininity, or when someone says you sit in your masculinity, when they say you sit in your divine femininity or you sit in your divine masculinity, a lot of us, even though we show up in female form, we sit in our masculinity because that's where we believe our power comes from. And a lot of beings who are born with vaginas don't realize how their power works, because the only thing that they've been taught to believe is that their job is to be a host to the power, that male that's going to come through you. Not you, but that male you'll give birth to. You don't see yourself. A lot of them don't see themselves as the source. They don't see themselves as that power. They see themselves as host to that power, unfortunately. And that's what patriarchy does. That's what the Bible did, not black trans women. Taught you that you didn't have the power inside of you, that you could only birth that power. I've had Jamaican men to literally tell me, you can't be a goddess, but you can be a queen. That's what their culture believes, that only men, only beings with dick and balls can be divine. You cannot be divine if you were born with a vagina. There are some cultures that believe that. And there are so many women who uphold the men who teach that, who move from that space. Y'all uphold that and y'all uplift that, and then y'all want to turn around and say, black trans women, they're the ones. And the reason why y'all make black trans women y'all target is because y'all know that we're still getting our footing. Y'all know that we've been erased historically. Our heritage has been taken from us. Y'all know that we're still getting our footing. And so what it's like, and this brings me back to T.S. Madison reading them children. Because as a movement, the trans community is a child. Not to say that we're not a reincarnated child, because we've always been here. We've always existed. There's nothing new under the sun. But as a movement, we are a child. And if you want them to stop attacking this child, then maybe you should stop attacking their children. Our movement itself is a child. And you are sowing something that you don't want done to you. Spiritually, our movement is a child and we're vulnerable and we're being attacked because they see the shift coming. And so when I say don't attack babies, I mean that not only in the physical sense, but I mean it in a spiritual sense. Let them get a chance to get their footing. Because the same words you said about that's a snake and I don't trust the lineage. What you think a lot of them think about us? It's a snake. And ain't nothing gonna come from it gonna be no good. But let me tell you something. My Chinese zodiac is snake. So I have a different relationship with snake. I don't get into that. You know, that's the Bible taught us to look at snakes as evil, as inherently evil. That's some shit that we need to unlearn. When a snake is hungry, it's gonna eat. It's not gonna eat just because. When a snake is hungry, it's gonna eat. Y'all calling some people snakes that don't even deserve the title. And just because a cow is harmless doesn't mean it's better than a snake. A snake eats when it's hungry, not just because it's there. A snake don't just be like, it don't, snakes don't do that. They don't eat just, it eat because I'm hungry. It's time to eat. And it be good for a minute. Yet the snake has been demonized. If it strike you, if it jump on you, it's because when you were moving, you wasn't thinking about, you wasn't being respectful of the space that it was already occupying. You came through like being clumsy. You played a stupid game and won a stupid prize. Be more conscious. Be more present. Be aware. Snakes teach lessons. Tasha taught you a lesson. She taught you, you knew who Tasha was before you let her in your house. I refuse to believe that a girl who has gotten to where you are did not know you fucking built something amazing with Kyle. You fucking interviewed people like fucking Monique. You've been in the presence of black feminine divinity. And you didn't know what you let into your house. You didn't know what you was dealing with. You want me to believe that, sister? We're gonna drink to that lie. You have conversations with Nicki Minaj. You're on the Beyonce soundtrack on her new album. You didn't know what you had let into your house? Girl, how you gonna let a demon into your house, a spirit into your house that you knew was wicked, and then complain? You let the snake into your house, you knew the snake was hungry. You knew the snake was hungry. That snake gotta eat. $4 million in debt. She gotta eat. She hungry. You didn't think she was gonna eat you with your big old fine self. You didn't think she was gonna want a bite of that. Hmm. Madison, baby girl, I refuse to believe that you're this naive. I refuse to believe that my sister has played in movies with the likes of Gabrielle Union. Gabrielle Union, another goddess. You're on Hush, surrounded by all this divine feminine energy. Female girl, you are surrounded by all of this Kundalini serpent energy, and you didn't know what you let into your house. And see, this the thing. You see me as the girl that you said on your live and you said, um, I wish we could have been friends. The reason why we can't be friends, the reason why you don't want to be my friend is because I'm not like those girls. You low key like the bullshit. I would never have hurt you like Kaya hurt you. I would have never hurt you like Tasha hurt you. And I guarantee you, had you shared your platform with me years ago, you could have still did the same numbers because I am super talented. Not willing to do everything that you're willing to do, but I can spiritually ground it all and explain it all. I would have been better as a sister, but you chose to make me an enemy because when I was holding you accountable, you wanted to villainize me when I was holding you accountable. Instead of you rising to the challenge, you decided to make me look crazy. You decided to gaslight me because you didn't want a bitch like me to make you step it up. Because I have the power to make you the bitch that you're trying to convince everybody that you are. Everything that I've ever touched when it comes to the girls has prospered. And you already had the star quality. You already had the connections. You're a fucking snake. That's why you attracted the snakes. But the difference with you is you don't just eat when you hungry. You eat just because. Just because it's there. But you have snake in you too. That's why you're attracted to Kaya's. That's why you're attracted to Tasha's. That's why you're attracted to them. You're attracted to that viper. Now because Viper did what Viper do, you want to be in your feelings. Now, I'm not gonna sit up here and lie and say there's not a dragon in me. Cause girl, I am serpent and dragon, honey. But again, I don't eat until I'm hungry. And I'm honest. Before I hurt you, if I think I'm about to hurt you, I'll give you space. That's what maturity has taught me. But years ago, child, I wouldn't even thought about your feelings. Girl, I remember I when I was younger, I used to hurt people that was close to me because that's what I knew. That's all that had been modeled for me. When I fucked my sister husband, I didn't feel bad because I fucked her husband because all my motherfucking friends was fucking mine. In my mind, we was punks. We wasn't getting married. We wasn't going home to meet the mama. We wasn't gonna never be the wife. So, bitch, what we playing house for? Bitch, this community did. It ain't no fun if the homies can't have it. And I'm not saying the shit is right. I'm just saying what's real. That's where I was 20, 25 years ago. I have so much respect for girls who be like, I could have never did that to my sister. I was loyal. We ain't share. I ain't pass it. I got sisters who like that. They be like, I would have never done that to my sister. I never destroyed. Child, back then, I didn't believe love, real love was possible. I had had my heart broken so many times by niggas. I didn't believe that shit was real. So when I fucked your man, I felt like, hey, bitch, girl, you don't want him. You over here fucking 8, 9 other niggas your damn self. And now I look at this shit like this. I'm not jealous behind no nigga. Nah, I'm gonna be clear. There's certain people that I wouldn't want my man to fuck. Like my daughter, I don't want you fucking my daughter. Like, I don't want you fucking none of my daughters. Like, no, nobody that I'm close with. I don't want you fucking my daughters. Like, nah, I'm not. I can't handle it. I remember me and my daughter. Now, when I say my daughter, I'm not talking about my biological daughter. I'm talking about my chosen daughter. Um, she's 2 years younger than me. She's my oldest. Um, Me and her used to turn tricks together when we was in our early 20s. You know, we go with the white man. White man give her $200, give me $200. I remember it was after Katrina, and I had came back, and I had been going to seminary school, and me and my daughter was in the club together, and my daughter was like, Mama, I got us a date. And she said he gonna give us $200 a piece, you know, cause that was she always had hustled for us, cause she used to be able to pluck them white men easy, cause you know she's a red bone and slim. So jail, she said I got us one. So me and her was getting ready to turn the trick together, and something just came over me, and I was like, I'm your mama. I'm not supposed to be fucking turning tricks with you. Like this shit ain't right. Like I had that moment right then and there where I realized I didn't feel comfortable doing that shit with my daughter no more. And I was like 29 years old. I'm 46 now. So what that was like 17 years ago. I was like, and we've never done that again since. We've never turned to date again. 17 years. Mm-mm. No. But that was the moment that it happened. But you know, we came up together in the streets. We was out there together. I tried to shield my daughters from certain shit because I didn't want them to turn tricks. I didn't want them to do sex work. I didn't want them to sell drugs. I didn't want them to do those things. I call myself prostituting and selling drugs so they didn't have to. But children don't want to do what you tell them to do. They want to do what they see you do. And so I learned the hard way. If you want your children to do something different with their life, you've got to show them something different. You can't just talk about it. You got to be about it. And you know, some are lucky. You know, some they see their mamas doing something so bad, or they seeing their daddies doing something so bad that they don't want to model that, and so they go in a different direction with their life. But you know, um, I was still young myself. Again, I was 29 when it was like, and that's 3 years after you get your critical thinking matter. I was like, no, I can't do this no more. No, we're not about to have this relationship. And I've been there with my daughter for everything. I wasn't there when she got her pussy, but I was the first person she called when she came out of surgery. you know. But for all of her monumental moments, when she got her name changed, when she had her orchiectomy, when she took her first hormone shot, when she got married, I threw the bridal shower. So I've had a chance to, have a lot of mothering experiences in this reality. When she had her facial film, I came over and stayed with her for a week and look after her. So I've had an opportunity, and she always tell me, she said, "Mama," she told her biological mama, she said, "You raised your son, but she raised a daughter," and that's true because I got to mold her into a beautiful woman. A lot of it she did on her own. I can't take credit for everything because her hard-headed ass have always done what she wanted to do. But I've had the opportunity to um, watch her become a beautiful woman. Even though she didn't come out of my body, I still love her just the same. And it's so real that my biological family, especially on my mother's side, they know. My mama know, my sister know, my first cousins know. This is my child. And a lot of things I did differently with my life, not just for her, but for all of my daughters. Because Milan is still my baby. Bonnie is my daughter. Toya is my daughter. Portia is my daughter. And I made different choices with my life, and a lot of things I did not do because I thought about how it was going to impact their lives and the choices that they were going to make. And so, where it looked like to y'all I lost, I didn't. I took a back seat so different parts of me could win. I played the background because I wanted to be a support system. It was more important to me to be a support system, to root for them than for me to be out here doing a whole bunch of stuff that I don't know if 10 years from now is going to be the reason for a whole bunch of shit being fucked up. T.S. Madison, sister, you shining right now. You making money. You know, the greatest thing that I could commend you for is how well you take care of your mother. I see I see how much you love Miss Mary. And that's the one, like, I love that about you. I wish I could do that for my mama. And this is no shade to my mama. I love my mama to death. I love my mama to death into life again. But my mama is very entitled. She's a very entitled woman. She feels like she's owed everything. And part of me feels like if I was able to give her all of the things that you give Miss Mary, I don't know if it would make it worse. Miss Mary looks humble. She looks appreciative. She gives off an energy that she's very thankful. I don't know if my mama would have that same energy. I don't know if my mama is very much, this is for me. Will take everything you give her and don't really do, sometimes she really don't want to share with you. Like, I'm not dragging my mama. I love my mama, but like Miss Mary seems like I love her energy. I love how sweet. I don't really too much live for the Father God, King Jesus stuff. Like, and my mama is Christian too, but my mama knows my spirituality, and she knows that when I come around her, we finna talk about the ancestors. I'm finna call her a couple of goddesses because I want to remind her who she is. Now you can do this patriarchy stuff because that's what you used to. You in your 60s. You ain't about to change. I get it. I remember when I came by my mama house one day, I had on face paint. When I wear the tribal paint. I came by my mama house and I had that face paint on. I was with one of my boyfriends, and we came by the house. I was in such a good mood because this beautiful black female and her daughter was in the car riding down the street, and they got out the car and they held my hands and they prayed with me, and she was like, I see you at war with something. And she said, I love the way you do your spiritual warfare. And we prayed together in the parking lot, and we didn't pray to Jesus, although I knew she was affiliated with a church. But we prayed to the ancestors. And it was so beautiful. My energy was just so high. Like, it was such a beautiful experience. So when I walked through my mama door, I was beaming, because I done walked over there with tribal paint on. I did it for like 5 or 6 months when I was living in the hood because I wanted the boys to know that I was different. I didn't want to walk around saying I was trans because I had a sex change. There wasn't really a need to do that. But I did it for 6 months. I wanted them to think, I didn't care if they thought I was crazy. I just didn't want to always have to be spilling my tea and always having to explain. Because, even if they didn't know, even if we have sex and they don't know, somebody in the hood going to be like, they used to be so and so, and so and so and so and so. And so I didn't want to deal with any of that. So that was another reason why I wore the face paint, because I lived in a neighborhood that was known for a lot of killing. Jackson Landing used to be a real vicious, place. And I lived back there for like a year and something before I left to go to New York. So, it's a method to my madness all the time. People didn't understand why I was running around in face paint, but I was literally, you know, I was literally having my season where I was like reconnecting with nature in my own way, and just like in my mind, honey, I was in the village and I had to tap into my shaman energy, honey. So anyway, I got by my mama house with the face paint on, and when I walked in the door, I'm thinking my mama gonna live because that's another thing me and her have in common. She liked to wear her braids. She liked to wear her little pattern clothing. Me and her is very, we both like to dance. We both poets, poetry. All of these gifts are things I get from my mama. My mama has always been a natural beauty. This is my mama when she was young. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I walked into the house. You see, she had a little afro. Yeah, but my mama said, when I walked into the house, she said, "Why you got that on?" She said, "Why you got that on?" And I said, "Mama, I like this." She said, "You don't need to do that." She said, "Our ancestors put that down." She said, our ancestors put that down. And I said, they didn't put it down. It was beat out of them. Honey, they didn't put it down. It was beat out of them. Child, they didn't choose to stop doing that. It was beat out of them. And I still wear my face paint from time to time, not as often, because I'm in a different place, you know, um, spiritually and all. Yeah, I'm in a different place. That girl got some kick to her. So, we read the foreword. So, we're at the content. So, we're going to read some more of Hope Giselle's book tonight before I close out this live. Chapter 1 is titled Expectations. Chapter 2 is Daddy Issues Part 1. Chapter 3 is Trade the Silent Arrangement. Chapter 4 is Spider-Man. Chapter 5 is Peace and Love. Chapter 6 is Daddy Issues Part 2. Chapter 7 is Understanding. Chapter 8 is Love Like Math. Chapter 9 is Rites of Passage. Chapter 10 is Not My Smile. Chapter 11 is Love. Chapter 12 is Rainbow Boys. Chapter 13 is Nuance. Chapter 14 is Personal Prison. Chapter 15 is The Patriarchy of Privacy. Chapter 16 is The Struggle. A quote from Rosa Parks. I've learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. Rosa Parks. Chapter 1, The Expectation. There's a science to understanding what it means to love, like, care for, and share space with Black men. There's an internal understanding of the pain you're expected to endure for the sake of his greatness and will-shattering patience you must have to move into moments that provide you peace. So what happens when you realize that the relationship you held so tightly to your chest had become nothing more than a dissertation like thoughts to be unpacked and then restocked in the shelf of your existence? How do you move beyond your visceral pain to create room for what it means to be a Black man in America? Hell, what is it even like to be a Black man in America when Black men don't even get to decide what their masculinity is anymore? I don't think men in general get to decide this. I don't. And it's so interesting. I'm working on an abbreviated piece about like this for Postcards from Over the Edge that I literally wrote. I think that Black men are Black indigenous men. I want to be specific when I'm saying Black indigenous to acknowledge the deeply melanated beings that were here before the slave master came, before the colonizer came. I want to be careful to hold space for Black indigenous men specifically. I do think that oftentimes Black indigenous men are more scrutinized, but I think that manhood in general is under a lens of severe scrutiny. um, Caitlyn Jenner was mocked and ridiculed. Ultimately, Caitlyn Jenner won when Caitlyn Jenner was nominated Woman of the Year. I don't know whose decision it was to do that, but they heckled Caitlyn. I saw white people in the comment section. It's motherfuckers still calling Caitlyn Bruce. White people still don't see it for Caitlyn. Still ain't accepted Caitlyn. Still ain't accepted Caitlyn. But this is why Caitlyn strategically aligned themselves with patriarchy and upheld all of the antics of these men. And because they transitioned 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, they're still rooted in the same things, and so Caitlyn still taps into that. But there's I think there's more scrutiny towards black men. But let's be clear, that scrutiny often comes from us. As I said earlier in this video, we quick to call somebody a bum and quick to talk about what somebody ain't got, when really, honestly, and truly, we don't know what their mental state is. And even sending them to therapists, a lot of black people who go to these institutions and these colleges and get these educations, y'all are so detached from what's really going on, and you honestly don't have the capacity to be therapist. You don't have the capacity to be psychologist. Because deep down in your hearts of hearts, a lot of black people just think that we better than everybody else. When I went to Africa, I saw this with my own eyes. There are Africans who will literally walk past you with their nose like this. Like, literally, it's Africans that walk around like this. Like they're better than you. And they do this to each other. And so many of us want to be tied to African culture when, if we are doing math around this whole Pan-Africanism theory, Africa is what? It's been called Africa for what, 500 years? 500, 600 years? That's how long it's been called Africa. And before that, they called it something else. Now, before it was renamed Africa by its conquerors, because it was renamed because it was conquered, that's how it became called Africa. It was not called Africa until it was conquered by the European race, by the Caucasian race. That's when it was renamed Africa. You didn't know that, right? But we always, Africa this, Africa the motherland, the motherland, the motherland, the motherland, the motherland. No, the land that it was called before it was renamed Africa by the colonizers. Because if you take the time to go and live in Africa, you would know that there's parts in Africa where it snows and that there are white people, there are Caucasian people that live there as well. And so when Caucasian people move to America from Africa, guess what you call them? Guess what their names are? Oh, African American. Oh. If a white person moved here who lived in Africa, they're going to be African American too. So this is why I say I'm black and indigenous. Because I'm black. And not only am I native to this land, I am native to this planet. I am indigenous to this planet. Because before Africa was Africa, it had another name, and before it was that, it was all a super Pangea, and it was all one landmass that was together. I am indigenous to that landmass. So I am black because I have an abundance of melanin, and I am indigenous because I am indigenous to this landmass. I am indigenous to that landmass that is now called Africa. I am indigenous to multiple landmasses on this planet. I am black, indigenous. I am not African American. All of my ancestors did not come from there. My ancestors was around before Africa was Africa. That's the problem. And so we try to tie ourselves to this idea of Africa as it was. And most people who always talking about Africa this and Africa that, you ain't never been there. And a lot of the wealthy people that go, a lot of our American people, the wealthy celebrities who always talking about Africa this and Africa that, is because they money so long over there in Africa. They like kings and queens when they visit, and them Africans roll out the red carpet for them. So they're able to shape culture over there. Oprah is a goddess to them people. They worship her because she's created an opportunity for a lot of them to thrive in a colonist society, in a colonized society. And see, this is the sad part about that. There are multiple forms of poverty. Poverty, when we think of poverty, we often think of poverty as just not having any money, not having any resources, not having any access. That poverty is real. But the worst kind of poverty you could possess is mental poverty. That's when in your mind you are poor in your mind. Mental poverty is the thing that makes you um, rob people at gunpoint and want to kill them. Mental poverty is you being so hungry that you feeling like you gotta steal somebody's car, you gotta break in their house, you gotta mental poverty is you being so jealous of someone that you have to physically attack them, that you have to threaten their life, that you have to threaten their existence. That is mental poverty. And unfortunately, a lot of people who are mentally impoverished are the ones who are the hungriest for wealth. And so, a lot of times, these beings who are mentally impoverished have the access and the resources. And then that's when mental poverty becomes something dangerous. Mental poverty makes you hungry for material things. And then once you get those material things, you're in a position to oppress people who are not mentally impoverished. That's gonna go over some of y'all head. See, that's how slavery happened. Our ancestors, who y'all put down, who didn't need all of this stuff that we need today, they weren't mentally impoverished. But the ones who came to oppress them were. So let's continue reading. I know a few folks who are familiar with me and find themselves confused at my disassociation from malehood. But I assure you that I have known very little of what it truly means to be a black man. I do, however, know that what pressure expectations can create. I understand what it is to be a black boy beyond the blue lights and the coke lines on dining room tables. I know what it's like to be expected to hold back the tears you deserve to cry because your environment is a factory and you are the product. The demand for your failure is high and the supply is abundant with folks who believe that the assembly line is their way out because a black man told them that the conveyor belt to heaven was paved in toxicity. I know what it's like to pray, to ask for forgiveness for not wanting to become the black man that everyone else needs you to be. Mm. To watch the blood pour from your forehead down to the bridge of your nose, through your lips, as the crystal case that inflicted the pain is washed and placed back in its original position, only to try and forget it was never used as an object of a traumatic experience. I know so much and still nothing at all because I wanted to remain blind. I wanted an excuse to hate the thing that I was expected to become. I knew nothing of self love. I resonated with the thought of hating myself because I had two strikes against me before I ever became hope. And the black men in my life never let me forget it. They never let me forget that my purpose was to up bottle my joy and sip it slowly, but never from a straw. Mm, wow. I was taught to manage and microdose the microaggressions I could face from folks who would view me as a threat based on nothing other than my existence. I would have been the black man that knew too well what it meant to be completely content with the storyline of a character whose life I was expected to play. I was expected to tell the story regardless of my time. I was expected to tell the story regardless of my time. Trying to get away from the idea that I needed more. I wouldn't be okay with being mediocre for the sake of being the type of black man that made everyone proud. I know that's right. I would have done what was needed to be done only when I finally had enough of the charade would the world have made space for me to atone for the harm I'd caused in the process of fulfilling my duty. Mm, come on, talk about that pack mule. Tell us about that pack mule, cause that's what they want. The what she said. Marsha said, "The price you pay is high." You know, I'm changing the lyrics around. The price you pay is high. The price you pay is high. Yes, ma'am, honey. Or you gonna pay a high price for the illusion of being in control. Because baby, the only power your power comes from being a pack mule. Your power comes from being that breeder who gonna breed more slaves, who gonna get out there and mate with them women and make some babies up on this plantation, who's gonna come here and do what master says. And you gonna eat good, you gonna be well taken care of, but sure, your offspring, they going to get out and works. And this what we don't understand. I'm about to put my mouth on some celebrities' children. And when I do this, I want you to understand this. I think that Blue Ivory, I think all Beyonce's children are beautiful and amazing. I think that Rihanna's children are amazing. I think that they're all wonderful. Um, but they are born into a high expectation. Look at how hard Black indigenous people have been on Jada and Will's children. Look at how hard y'all have been on Zaya Wade. Y'all, Black people, and I hate to generalize, but y'all are so hard on people, children. And I think this is another reason why I got so mad at Madison. These children, with all the access that they have, with all the wealth and all the resources at their fingertips, Blue Ivory has already been insulted by Funky Dineva, by Saucy Santana, and by Tasha K. And who has this little girl ever harmed? Who has this little girl ever said anything about? With all the money her mama got, she still have people critiquing her while she is still a child. The price you pay is high. So while they have created access and wealth for their children, it's come at a cost. Your children will meet a level of scrutiny. When Beyonce was 12 and 13 years old, there wasn't a Black Twitter. When Jada and Will was 12 and 13 years old, there wasn't a Black Twitter. There wasn't a shade room. When Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade, or Zaya Wade's mother, excuse me, because Gabrielle is not the biological mother, there wasn't a shade room. There wasn't a Black Twitter. And so these children, even with all the resources, we saw what happened to Whitney Houston, baby. The little boy that played on That's So Raven. Hell, Raven Simone. The scrutiny. Let's continue. I'd have the opportunity to be forgiven because I was a black man, but I never became one. I never got the chance to harness the privilege of manhood. I never knew what it was to woefully assess my perceived power over women or the black family, due in large part to my disgust with the notion that my ownership of a penis and acceptance of my manhood afforded me the right to stand in spaces that I wasn't qualified for based on a system and a social order that I didn't understand. Oh, you had said a mouthful right there, ho. You had said a mouthful. So this penis, you realized, girl, wait a minute. They're trying to exalt me just because I got a penis. Oh, that's the criteria for you to be running stuff? That's the criteria for you to be the head of the house? You ain't got to be smart. You ain't got to be wise. You ain't got to be... You gotta be wise, you gotta be bold, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be bad, you gotta be tough, you gotta be... All I know is I know below. You just gotta have a penis. And you was disgusted by the fact that that was all they took. That's all it took, yeah, just one look. That's all it took, yeah. You was disgusted by the fact that all it took, the only criteria for you to be running things was you to be swinging and banging and celebrated. Celebrating that you had a dick. Look at me, I got a dick. See it? I'm a man. It's a boy. That's all it took. It wasn't that deep. It wasn't really that deep. It was not deep at all. There wasn't a rigorous it wasn't a rigorous what word I want to use? It wasn't a rigorous syllabus. It was, you didn't have to study, a lot. You just had to like really just relish in your penis, like relish, like oh my, look at what I got. Yeah, that's all it took. I knew nothing. I understood very little, but I understood the things that I had to control. But I did understand the things I had to control. I had to hold my mannerisms and parts of my body language. I had to be mindful of how my hands fell at times of rest. I had to be conscious about my skin color and what that said about the type of man I could be. The man that I was supposed to be was never the man that I resonated with. Parts of me fell in love with the ideas of the toxic role because the parts of me that were finding myself falling in love with the idea of being suitable to love someone who was what I was trying to get away from. So you will fall in love with the parts of yourself that you were trying to get away from. Oh wow, that's good. Oh, okay. So that explains the whole toxic Like while we and I've said this before. I've said this before in a live. Like when I was younger, I always was attracted to the boys that was nothing like me. You know, the bad boys, the thugs. That wasn't me. I was more like Steve Urkel. I was Steve Urkel. They gave you Steve Urkel foolishness. It was just very, very much for the little brief moment that I did have a boyhood, like, cause I didn't start my transition till I was 14. So 12, 13, I gave you some Steve Urkel teas. It was very much Mara. I was very much Steve Urkel teas, but I was attracted to bad boys. I was attracted to thugs, so I definitely can resonate with this. Um, fell in love with the idea of the toxic role because parts of me that were finding myself falling in love with the idea of being a suitable love to someone who was what I was trying to get away from. As cliche as it might be, I wanted to fall in love with the men who reminded me most of the things that I despised about me. This is why I like her, even though I'm gonna say this still. I think Hope might not be fake. She might just be real strategic, but you know, I feel a little spiritual connection with Hope too. Like, cause Hope be saying some shit like I be feeling Hope. It just like the words and the actions just don't be aligning for me. Like it's just not always like she could say some shit like that bitch, that goddess, that being, that person. She could say some powerful things, but girl, it just don't always be giving alignment for me. Like I just don't I don't always see the actions aligning. But girl, I have to give you your props, girl. You say, girl, whew, you so powerful. She said, in love with men who reminded me most of the things that I despised about men. I wanted to fall in love with a man like my grandfather. All of them. Roosevelt was the first man I knew existed outside of the doctor who slapped me on my ass and reiterated a gender identity upon me that I am sure aided in what would feel like my oppression. Wow. Ooh, wee. Come on, Hope. Come on, Hope. Because you was born with that penis. You had to get out on the fields and works. You gonna work for this man status. Oh, we finna recognize you as a man. We finna exalt you up on the plantation. So you think. We gonna tell you that you special. Cause we want you to work hard. We gonna tell you that you is the prize. We gonna tell you that you's the king. We're really used to serving. We gonna tell you that you's important. Cause really, we want you to get out here and convince these women, put that good dick on these women, and bring us some more slaves here for these plantations. Get out here and slang that meats. Slang that meats and bring us some men's, brings us some most babies here. Get out there and mix these women's falls in loves with you. Make some falls in love with you and bring us some old babies here up on this plantation, sir. We gonna lift you up like the devil when the devil was talking to Jesus. If you do so and so and so and so, I'm gonna make you wealthy. I'm gonna exalt you among men. I will spend the rest of my life with. He was a grandfather. He was a grandfather. My life getting to know and training myself after. Oh wow. He made it easy for me to be exactly who I was. He was invincible for so much of my childhood. Mm, I knew that he would last forever. And this is, I know that, being brought up in a Christian family, which I'm assuming, even though we haven't got into that, um, that made it even more. That made it even more, like, made her want to love him even more, because we're taught that this is the likeness of God. That the men are, even though it says they said, let us go down and make male and female in our image. We don't believe that. We believe that it's just the man or the male who's made in the image of God. And so, him being that likeness, even, you know, perpetuated those thoughts and ideologies even more so in her mind. He was invincible, and for so much of my childhood, I knew that he would last forever. I knew that men were not Barbies and couldn't be equated to them, but somehow I wanted to put him in a box, dress him up nicely, and save him for the moments that were hardest in my life. Mmm. He understood me in ways that most black men would never allow me to understand myself. He stood about 6 foot tall, that had the most piercing brown and gray eyes. I always thought it was weird, but never mentioned it to him because a part of me always thought it made him special. Come on, Roosevelt. This is really good. Like I'm really enjoying the book, low key. I love hugging. Cut my lip. That was enough of that. My grandfather and everything about him was always special. The way he was able to get up every morning and build buildings and then come home and make the most fantastic food you could have ever tasted. It was nothing short of a magic trick. He was Houdini, for lack of a better word. And my brother and I were his loyal subjects. We paid for tickets every night to see what we felt was the most prime example of a man. Beyond being hardworking, he taught us how to love fiercely. The way that Roosevelt loved my grandmother was truly unmatched. He showed us that love was friendship, and without that, love was also impossible. His beard was scruffy, and Roosevelt often kept his hair cut low. He reminded me of a black Santa Claus, if that was ever a thing. Only Roosevelt was much more in shape. And instead of a red suit with white fur trim, he may have been spotted in a pair of steel-toed work boots and the classic FUBU original work shirt, and whatever jeans or cargo pants he could find. Roosevelt was indeed my hero. He knew he knew what manhood was. But what made him special was that Roosevelt never spent a ridiculous number of times trying to get me to see manhood through his eyes. He would always take the time to let me find my footing, even when that meant I would fall. I'll never forget the first time I fell. I recall it almost every other day. I had to be about 10 years old, and I lived in a pretty rough part of what folks would call the ghetto. I lived in a neighborhood that we all lovingly referred to as PSU. I never found out what the letters meant, but colloquially, all of the kids in the neighborhood agreed that it stood for people sweat us. This phrase is the silliest thing to me now, but the 10-year-old version of me would have gone to war about a housing project in built to keep black people in and remind white folk to drive faster if they ever happened upon this neighborhood by accident. On this particular day, I found myself at the new playground they had put smack dab in the middle of our little slice of Miami heat. I was running around with a few friends and was excited to be one of the first kids that got to test out this new jungle gym equipment and swing set. Everything was going so beautifully until one of the twins from a couple of doors down decided that he had enough of me prancing around like a sissy. He pushed me off the swing. And although every thought and every bone in my body wanted so badly to push him back, I did nothing. I did nothing. And I went home. I went to the person that was supposed to protect me, the black man that was supposed to be my superhero. The only image of man I had outside of my grandfather was the men I saw on television. We all know for the most part in the 90s, the only men we saw on television didn't look like my grandfather, which means that their methodology to raising a black child was nothing like my grandfather's. And I was about to find out the hard way. I went into the house covered in sand on the left side of my body, as sweaty as I could be, lips stained with a lollipop that I had been sucking on earlier, and my knees slightly bloodied from when he pushed me. I gave my grandfather an exact look I'd seen Jessica Biel give her dad on Seven Heaven whenever something happened and she needed help. This lady is in her. This lady's still in her 20s, huh? Not you would have stood for you and stood in front of your grandfather and was the damsel in distress. Not you gave your grandfather that tease. The only difference was I wasn't Jessica Biel, and this was not a white suburban neighborhood. I know that's right. But the fact that we was drawn to that type of entertainment when we was little, and this is why black people often feel like black trans women are trying to redefine womanhood because, believe it or not, Jessica Biel influenced your look. You know, RuPaul influenced my look. When I was younger, um, there was a lot of white women who influenced the look that I wanted to give. But I will admit my first role model was Queen Latifah when she used to wear the little crowns and stuff. I used to live for Queen Latifah. That was my first like mainstream female role model. I wanted to be like Queen Latifah. So I've always been rooted. I've always been rooted. But that was my generation. By the time you came up, um, Lauryn Hill was there, but I don't know. I feel like mainstream had really, really did like a little heavy number on y'all. Anyway, the only difference was I wasn't just and Brandy was there. I think y'all generation had Brandy too. Um, the only difference was I wasn't Jessica Biel. Well, Brandy was my generation because me and Brandy grew up together. Brandy was probably a grown woman for you though. Anyway, the only difference was I wasn't Jessica Biel, and this was not a white suburban neighborhood. My grandfather was not a middle aged white man who believed in turning the other cheek or letting God figure it out. And so the reaction I got was nowhere near the one I expected or wanted. As I looked him in the face, he told me what happened, and before I could finish my story about how he pushed me or even show him the mildly scarred knees, he he was rapidly moving me out of the door and back to the same playground where the very same set of twins were now swinging in my place. He pushed me inside the gates, and from the inside, I remember him yelling frantically, "If those are the boys who pushed you, then you're gonna fight them or and push them back." One of the twins decided that he wanted nothing to do with the fight. He opened the gate to the playground, and in the space that was once festive and fun, and then closed it, locking the little latch behind him. Mm. The twins decided he wanted nothing to do with the fight. He opened the gate to the playground, a space that was once festive and fun, and then closed it, locking the little latch behind him. What started as a day on the swing turned into a miniature death match. And I was the star. My auntie did this to me. This did happen with my grandfather. My auntie did this to me. I had never been in a fight before, and at this point in my life, right? I felt that was the same thing. I had never even had to show aggression beyond mild tears for being reprimanded for something I had done personally. So to be in the middle of a fight in broad daylight as other kids gathered around to watch the show made me feel like I was about to throw up. But I also wanted to prove to my grandfather that I could be a man and that I could be just like him. And so before anything else could happen, I threw the first punch. I swung and barely hit the twin who had the look of sheer enjoyment on his face. I could tell that this wasn't his first close caged match. I could tell that this wasn't his first close cage match. He was experienced and he knew what he was doing. He understood the rules to this part of manhood. He understood what it meant to be a black boy. He understood what it meant to prove that you could be a black man. He also understood that this was my first time, and like so many times, this was going to hurt. And he reveled in it. He reveled in the thought of making me look foolish. He reveled in the idea of making me cry in front of the entire neighborhood and embarrassing me in front of the one man that I would never want to feel embarrassed in front of ever. As I continued to swing frantically with my eyes Ooh-wee. 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 That means, ooh-wee. That lady said, ooh-wee. That lady says, I continue to swing frantically with my eyes closed. Oh, man. Oh, man. That lady said she continued to swing frantically with her eyes closed. I remember telling myself that if I kept swinging, even if I wasn't hitting anything, it would soon be over. I kept telling myself that Roosevelt would come and save me if I started to get beat up too severely, but he never did. He let that boy beat me up as the other kids in the neighborhood gathered outside the gate and laughed. And I guess was the only good news about this was that camera phones hadn't been invented yet. So the only way that people could hear about the story would be if someone told them. And I never intended on telling anybody. So we fought for what seemed to be hours, and everything started to move in slow motion. I watched the room, the world, and the playground spin around me, and every so often catching a glimpse of my disappointed grandfather would still not save me, even after I broke down and finally mustered up the strength to scream for his name. I remember after about 5 minutes, after about five I remember after about 5 minutes of the hours that it felt like I was enduring this beating. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Man, this lady is graphic. This lady is graphically detailing this ass woman. Bitch, you remember this ass woman, bitch. Oh, man. Oh. This lady remember this ass woman to this day, man. Bitch. Ooh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I remember after about 5 minutes of the hours that I felt like I was enduring this beating, one of my moms in the neighborhood decided that she couldn't see enough, unlatched the gate to the great playground, and pulled me out. Roosevelt grabbed my hand and pulled me inside the house. With tears in my eyes, before I could get up the stairs to the bathroom, he reminded me that every time I ran from a fight, he would be there to push me right back out that front door. I had no idea why or how someone who was supposed to love me so would deliberately put me in harmful situations. I had no idea why or how that was okay. But I do know that the next time that I was forced off the swings, instead of running into what was usually the loving arms of my grandfather, I would keep my pain to myself, rinse off my knees, and find another spot to play. Mm. This was the first time I realized that trusting a black man could cost me what feeling like cost me what felt like everything. It was the first time that I didn't wholly trust Roosevelt with my entire life. It was the first time I understood what it meant to be let down by a black man. It was the first time I realized that maybe being a black man wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And perhaps understanding this entire organizational body of manhood was just a cheap trick. Was just a cheap trick. And maybe it was just a compilation of expectations that I would never be able to fulfill. So there's one more page, and I'm gonna go ahead and read the last page of this chapter because it's not long. So we're gonna stop here on page 9. Um, but I'm gonna finish reading. But I want to say this: my auntie did this to me, and I had a different experience. The boy who I fought normally always beat my ass, but that day he didn't, bitch. Cause my auntie didn't tell me that she was gonna push me back out the door. My auntie told me, "I'm going to beat you. I'm going to whoop your ass if you don't whoop his ass." My auntie said, "If you don't win, you gonna get beat again." And baby, I motherfucking she knocked on his mama door. He came outside. We went over there and fought on that corner. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he let me win. 'Cause on we discovered he had feelings for me. We started fucking. He turned out to be my first love. But he let me win because he didn't put up much of a fight. But that's the only time I ever got the best of him. And he knew in that moment I didn't give a fuck. Cause I didn't want to get that ass whooping from my auntie, and I didn't want not fuck just being embarrassed. I didn't want to get beat by her. It wasn't just I knew my auntie meant that. My auntie said, if you don't win, I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna whoop your ass. So you better whoop this nigga ass. So when I went around there, I jumped on that nigga and I fought for my motherfucking life. I dived on top of that nigga. I mean, I dived on top of it. We was rolling around on the ground. And when she felt satisfied, we rolled on the ground until she was satisfied. She knocked on his mama door, and his mama stood on the corner, and she stood right there. My auntie was like this, and his mama was like that, and me and him were rolling around on the ground fighting. Told my auntie, she said, "I don't know what your nephew did to my son, but my son love your nephew." So then she told my auntie that to this day he's never been able to admit that he loved me, but I know he did. He loved me. His mama knew it, and his mama his best friend. His mama said, "I don't know what your nephew did to my son, but my son loved your nephew." And he did. A compilation of expectations that I would never be able to fulfill. Because I was in a body that didn't belong to me, and I had no idea. Roosevelt reminded me every single day that I had the option to be who I wanted to be, but he never let me forget that I had a couple of different charges on my head. I was a black man, I was gay, and I lived in less than optimal accommodations, which meant that I had to understand what manhood looked like in ways that other folk would not be able to. I had to program my mind to understand what it means to be legitimate in a community that didn't value men like me. I didn't appreciate little boys who grew up to be men like me. I didn't see men like me as men. Roosevelt reminded me at that Coliseum gates, at the Coliseum gates, where Roosevelt reminded me that the Coliseum gates will constantly be thrust open in hopes of executing little boys who would grow up to be black men like myself. And that if I weren't careful, I would be fed to the hungriest lions, and the crowds would scream and cheer as it chewed through my flesh and bones, making room for another warrior. All this was from a black man who fit the mold and understood what it meant to be a black man in our community and what it meant to grow up black in this space. Roosevelt never questioned whether or not I could do it, but he often wondered about why. Why did I have to be different? Why did I always go against the status quo? Why couldn't I just be like the rest of the boys? One day I would be able to answer this question, but at 10 years old, I had no clue. As I grew up, I learned that Roosevelt wasn't the only black man in my life whose opinion mattered. I started to realize that there was more to this story. I began to learn that I had to consider the source, consider where my thought process was coming from. I had to outsource and figure out whether or not Roosevelt was really the only version of a black man that I wanted to aspire to be. Okay, I could appreciate the exploration. And so, school is the place where I found solace and began my new understanding. I would take a little bit of something, even the men who dropped off the bread to the cafeteria on Mondays. I would pick up something about manhood from every single one of them, and I would build my stairway to manhood. I would develop my expectations, and I would do so in a way that could create a bubble around me, one that would protect me from the expectations that I couldn't feel, the people who didn't believe in me. However, one that would help me see what I expected of myself and who I was supposed to be. Wait, however, one one that would help me see what I expected of myself and who I was expected to be were two completely different people. I need to read that again. However, one that would help me see what I expected of myself and who I was expected to be were two completely different people. And one of them would have to get used to being alone. So that's the end of chapter one, Until I Met Black Men by Hope Giselle. And the next chapter, I don't know when we're gonna read it, but it's called Daddy Issues Part One. And I appreciate the vulnerability. I definitely appreciate the vulnerability. Um, yeah, I appreciate the vulnerability. Um, the book is good. It's good, and I'm processing, a lot of things that were said. Um, and I feel like she did a really good. I feel like she did a really good breakdown of her relationship with with her grandfather. I was definitely here for that. Let me put this on a charger because I've been wanting this live for a while. I'm about to go ahead and wrap this up, but I don't want this phone to go dead because, Shell, it's probably on less than 15% because the screen done started dimming. Because the girl have been on here a minute. Let me see, is it charging? No, it's not. There you go. Yeah, so we're gonna get ready to close out this video. I think that for me, I think he was trying to teach her what was taught to him. He wanted her to be a survivor. Um, I honestly, other than kind of like baby talking her, which I don't think would have been the answer. Um, he just wanted to make sure that she would survive the circumstances. So, he didn't want her to be the type of being that would run from, conflict. Maybe I think I wouldn't teach them to go back and fight, but we would have to revisit the area. We would need to talk to the child. We would need to talk to the parents. We would need to have some conversations about why, you felt the need to push this child off the swings. Like, I do think that, that needs to be revisited conversations because that's, you know, but it's also tribal. You're in the village, you're in the tribe, and you know, not just as it regards being male or female. Because I know women in my family who had to be prepared to fight, and they were in the same way. Like, them girls did something to you, come on, we finna go back over there and we about to fight them. So to me, in my family, that wasn't just relegated to gender. However, there were girls in my family who were fighters, and there were girls in my family who were soft-hearted. And it didn't mean that they weren't capable of busting your head. It just mean that they weren't rooted in aggression. That wasn't their root. I think that they had to experience a lot of trauma because that's me. You know, now in relationships, I tend to be the aggressor. I tend to be the one who initiates violence. I pop first. And this is something that the ancestors are working on me. I am not proud of it. I am not bragging on it. I'm just being honest. In relationships, you get jazzy out the mouth. Before you know it, I be done, backhanded you. And this is because I was mollywopped so many times in relationships when I was in my 20s. I was mollywopped. I was often mollywopped. The boys often, my husbands often would mollywop me. And I got tired of getting mollywopped. And so I started mollywopping them niggas. You know what I'm saying? And so I wasn't rooted in aggression when I was younger, but I experienced so much violence and so much aggression that, girl, I became the perpetrator. You know what I'm saying? The perpetrator of said violence. And don't get me wrong, even though I might pass the first lick, I wasn't always guaranteed the last one. Sometimes, me initiating violence ended with more mollywops, you know? Hey, such is life. Violence happens. But we're going to make another offering tonight to the ancestors. This is my closing tribute. I like to let this ancestor see as I burn the coins. So we're gonna turn this candle. Oh, wait a minute, hold on, because I don't want to break this. I gotta be very careful because I crafted this girl on my own. Okay. Now we're going to do our ritual. Yeah, I felt the fire on my hands. So we're going to make an offering. So I have to make an offering every day for 10 days. A financial offering every day for 10 days. And this is my financial offering today. This is IA 275862468. I free you. I free your ancestors from the contract of slavery that you caused, the harm that you caused us. I free you. I free my ancestors. I remember you. I remember your suffering. I remember your suffering. And I set you free. I set you free. I set you free. Okay, so this is the 6th day of my 10-day offering. The other offerings were made on my stories. I haven't made all my offerings live on YouTube, but since I've been going live on YouTube, I'm making the offerings here. And I like to let this ancestor witness. You get to witness the burning you never thought you would see. Your ancestors who have worked so hard to pick this cotton, burn it. You never thought you would get to see that, did you? You never thought you would see one that would come, that would burn it, did you? Well, I'm here. So, we have the candle of prosperity lit and also the candle of peace lit. I light this candle to acknowledge the ancestors who have come, the ancestors who are coming, and the ancestors who are here. I want happiness for Madison. I want her to continue to thrive, to continue to enjoy prosperity so that she can continue to be a blessing to those who benefit from her existence. I pray happiness for all those that she loves and good health. I still want a child to read you though, because I see you still gonna read children. And you're built to bear it. You're a strong, sturdy woman. You'll be all right. Down but down that I say cool, it keeps spinning and turning in Gani Iyanko Kalukalo. which means I am a child of God Goddess. And if I am, you know you are. Thank you for joining me tonight for this long ass live. I'm about to get ready to shower and get ready for bed because I got to go to works up on the plantation tomorrow. Love y'all. Down but now, did I say cool? Keep spinning and turning. We light this candle in honor of the ancestors who've come, the ancestors who are coming, and the ancestors who are here. As above, so below, as within, so without, as above, so below, as within, so without, as above, so below, as within, so without. Thank you, God Goddess. Thank you, God Goddess. Amen. A woman, lay them, lay love. As we blow out this candle on the physical plane, it grows with an intense purpose on the spiritual plane. Love y'all. Good.